My name's Paul, and I am the co-founder of Manifesto and the European Men's Gathering. This year, the 6th European Men's Gathering will be held on the 4th to the 7th of August in Denmark. It'll be an initiation into leadership and a tour de force of the dynamic, robust, and potently masculine vision for men's work, which we've developed in Manifesto. Here's some background about the event. The theme is going to be the death of the patriarchs. Since the 2017, then, the European Men's Gathering has been an initiation or rite of passage. At the same time, it's been marked by an experimental or explorative approach as we've struggled to find the right framework for such a ritual in a present-day context and society. The EMG in 2021 was the year that we first used the theme, the death of the patriarchs. And we're finally convinced that we've created a foundational structure and a foundational narrative that will carry us into the future. After the 2021 event, we've documented the entire thing and all the elements, and we figured out what worked well and which parts could still be improved. So future European men's gatherings are going to follow the same basic pattern and framework. So what is the death of the patriarchs? Our society is marked by a broad mainstream feminist narrative of the need to smash the patriarchy. We're encouraged to reject all forms of previous authority and structure and to remake society in a new image. This narrative has gained an unstoppable momentum and strength now, and it's heading like a train straight into a brick wall. We do not intend to stop it. Instead, we're interested in what's going to happen after that wall. That's why the narrative structure of the EMG this year will be a journey through the death, burial, and resurrection of the patriarchs. And hint, it's not going to be the old patriarchs that will be resurrected, but it'll be something else. We'll embark on a journey which will transport every man through the taste of the pain of a small death, re-seeing and reinterpreting the lives of his, or the events of his own life, and receiving a new map of the territory to understand what is happening to him and in society. Given that this is a rite of passage event, we do not publish a program for the participants. So the text here or the video here is intended to give you a broad idea of the flow of the event. So the journey begins on Thursday, the 4th of August at a retreat center in Thy, far off in the Danish countryside. We have about 140 attendees who've traveled from more than 25 countries. English is the shared language that we all speak. Most of us is a second language. The men are welcomed, and we start by agreeing on the conditions for the container of mutual assumptions and agreements, which enable us to trust and open up for the following 4 days. This includes open and direct communication, respect, confidentiality, and taking responsibility for ourselves. This is a gathering of men who are not embarrassed or ashamed of being men. Many of them work as teachers, coaches, facilitators, or therapists. Many are leaders in their fields. While much of the work that we do has a therapeutic or healing effect, we are not here to do therapy or healing as such. We're here to meet other men who want to take the next step in leveling up their lives, to support and challenge each other, and to learn from each other. Once this is done, every man is placed in a core team or small tribe with a facilitator and 10 men who live geographically closest to him. This is the primary vehicle for navigating through the weekend and making sense of the journey. It'll also be the most obvious connection point for the man when he gets home after the event to ensure the integration of what he's learned. The first evening, the individual groups will perform a very simple ritual. We'll open up a space of trust for open sharing, and they'll then start the work of sharing the stories of their lives and clarifying the personal as well as the symbolic elements of the story that they're living. They identify themselves as the main character of their story, and they see their story in the new light in which they're called to an adventure to attain a personal, sacred desire. Having gone through or having created a strong container for the journey, Friday is about going fully into it and testing the emotional, mental, and physical strength of every man. Before a man is civilized, he needs to be in touch with his warrior core and the dangerous and darker parts of himself. He needs to know what he is capable of. As Jordan Peterson says, if you think that tough men are dangerous, then wait until you see what weak men are capable of. From the 70-year-old pensioners who come and join us to the sportsmen in the 20s amongst us, everyone is given the right level of challenge for him to be able to lean into his edge. This is the training of the warrior. Humans resort automatically to a fear response of flight, fright, or freeze when they're confronted with direct, uncompromising reality. A man who lives in comfort all his life will not know his warrior spirit or his power. When the situation that requires the use of his power arises, he will likely fight in an ineffectual or emotional manner. He'll flee in cowardliness, or he'll simply freeze. We want men to know their power and to be able to bring it under their conscious control, to master it. This doesn't mean to stop feeling fear, but it means to act with clarity of positive intention through your fear. Each man identifies the tyrant in his life, the unjust authority which is holding him back from his sacred desire. He sees the malevolent, selfish dragon sitting on the unjustly hoarded treasure. The anger that is normally felt under the surface and kept down rises up and is felt and expressed. Tribal loyalty and competition play out against each other. There will be a bear and a bull, a light king and a dark king. Food and drink will become scarce during the day. There will be betrayal. There'll be a mob and a scapegoat. Tribal effigies are constructed and burnt to the ground. Each man has an opportunity to feel his edge and establish his boundaries. Finally, the tyrannical patriarchs were overthrown, stoned, and burnt to make way for the new. And so there will be a transition. As we stand on that cusp, we will pause, stop up, stand there, and notice. We broke down a wall. What's that like? We achieved what we set out to do. We saw something that we hated, and we destroyed it. And as we stand there in silence and in rest, we'll look at each other and we'll look at ourselves towards our own hearts and to our loved ones, and we'll notice. The story has reached a turning point, and a new map of the territory has been revealed. As we enter Saturday, our core teams are again the forum for making sense of the occurrences of the day before. We continue to unfold our personal stories with each other, each man identifying and sharing the concrete support and the divine helpers in his life. Who are our allies, and how can we ensure that we're recruiting them to their full value? Without a tyrant to point towards as the source of pain and suffering, each man sees and experiences in a very real way how it is his own choices which determine his path through life. There's no more space and stories for victimhood. We're all victims of this gift called life. We'll all die, and we all will suffer pain before we get there. So it's time for a new story. Steve Jobs said, the most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation that is to come. So the question is, what kind of a story do we want to tell with our life? Are we living in a comedy, a tragedy? Are we willing to shoulder the responsibility of being a hero of at least our own story, if not yet that of others? And more importantly, are we willing to do what it takes to become the hero, or do we want it to be served on a silver platter for us? Collectively, how do we as men ensure that we are creating the best possible framework for ourselves, moving forward and upwards? Each man considers where he wants to find forgiveness inside himself, and where he needs to find forgiveness inside himself and for himself. He weighs and considers the price that may be paid, that must be paid to move forward. There's no shortcuts and there are no easy ways out. Reality must be faced. Alone, most of us would never have the courage to do it, but standing with a tribe of brothers, we see clearly not only how chickening out would not only cause us to lose face in front of all the other men, but also how the man at your side is counting on you, on lifting your part, holding true to your integrity, and staying on your path, that he can be strengthened in holding true alongside you. So we need a new map, and we will receive a new map. On the Saturday evening, we bury that which we killed on the Friday evening. We see it far more clearly than before. The tyrannical father is recognized for what he represented, our projection of the darkness of our own heart onto the world around us. We can withdraw the projections back to ourselves, stop being afraid of all the shadows around us, and realize that they're merely shadows cast from the masks we place over our own heart. The real shadow that needs to be harnessed lives within and is a part of ourselves. And having put our fathers to rest, we're able to experience fully a true rebirth, a resurrection of body, mind, and soul. From the desolation of a culture of wokeism, where the highest virtue is signaling your niceness and your Mr. Goodiness to the world through their choice of climate-friendly cafe lattes and the nihilism that follows the rejection of that, we're now able to step into a new world. A new world where we're no longer the victims of circumstances beyond our control, but rather the synergistic mediators between the chaos of raw existence and the wisdom we have received. And importantly, no longer the atomized individual standing alone as a solitary tree in the desert, but an integrated part of the forest of existence and community, finding my contributive role and enjoying the shade and shelter and nourishment of my brothers and sisters around me. So why do we do this? Well, that's the story of the EMG and the state that we want to send the participants home with. It's a state of empowerment and inspiration. But not only that, we also want to send them home with the concrete connections to real men living in their near geography who are also engaged in the same mission, and a concrete plan of action to engage in men's work by starting a men's group, by bringing in members of their community, and then spreading this mission like ripples in the water. We're connecting men and engaging them in men's work. Our ambition is no less than to disrupt the therapy industry, which we see as, to put it bluntly, having largely abandoned and failed men and boys. A good definition of masculinity is the character traits and values which men love from getting from other men. The explicit goal of many therapists and the American Psychological Association these days is to make men less masculine. We're told that for men to become okay, they should become more like women. They should become, we are told, feminized and nice. There are good therapists and there are men who will need to continue to go to do therapy. But for the broad range of men, we do not believe that the solution to our challenges is to be found sitting and talking about our emotions with a therapist. And I'm saying this as a trained psychotherapist myself. Modern psychotherapy is a product of an individualized and fragmented society of men who are separated from their tribe and thereby weak. No one benefits from weak men. Everyone benefits from strong men. We need more strong men. We need men to stand strongest, or men stand strongest when they're able to take their place as a contributing part of a team or of a community. We see joint action in the world through men's work as the optimal path right now to the betterment of men. By committing to shared goals with others and working towards them, men meet difficulties and opportunities for growth. By building the strong relationships required for joint action, we create this network of support that we need to get through the tough times and face our shadows. Making stuff happen in the world is not easy. Men's work is a space where men can ensure that they're gathered around an explicitly positive vision and purpose, where they can try, fail, learn from it, and try again. So finally, to bring this all together, I want to note that men's work is not a goal in itself. Our communities benefit from being diverse and inclusive, and certainly from including men and women. Given the current political climate, however, and the attacks on masculinity and manhood we're seeing from the woke movement, there's a need for men to come apart for a while, to meet other men and strengthen each other in our masculinity, to call each other to account, to inspire each other, and to challenge each other to face our fears. And then to come back to our partners, to our work, to our other communities and society with renewed strength, focus, and integrity. That's why I'm a member of a men's group. That's why we do men's work. And that's why I'm going to the European Men's Gathering this August in Denmark. So I hope this was inspiring for you. I hope that it was inspired you to do something about it. If you do feel like this is something you'd like to join, then join us at the European Men's Gathering. If you have questions, then please put them in the comments here or send me an email personally on paul@manifesto.com. Thank you.